Welcome to Your Redemptive Birth, the birth story podcast where we hear directly from women who have journeyed from medicalized births to natural ones. I'm Sarah, and together we'll hear from women who have reclaimed birth. Their stories are marked by healing, strength, and deep trust in their bodies. If these stories resonate with you, I'd love for you to follow the podcast and leave a review so more women can find hope here. And for more redemptive birth tips and encouragement, come connect with me on Instagram at Your Redemptive Birth. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult your healthcare team for guidance specific to your pregnancy and birth. This is Your Redemptive Birth. Welcome to the podcast, Emmy Robbin.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy to talk to you. So you're on
Ditto.
Instagram as well at Emmy Robbin Doula. And then you sent me your beautiful book, Faithful Beginnings. And where can we just let the audience know right now where they can find this?
Yeah, you can go to my website. It's Emmy Robbin Doula. So it's Emmy like the award, Robbin, and then doula.com. And you'll find my book page there. I'm on Amazon. It's called Faithful Beginnings, a doula's guide to eliminating fear and birthing in confidence.
Oh, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
It is going. I can't wait to I've obviously flipped through it. It just came in the mail today, so I haven't been able to read it cover to cover, but it is, I can tell exactly what we need. It is.
Yeah.
Getting to the fear piece. And you really seem to go a lot deeper than what a lot of the birth courses that I see online where it's like, you kind of like you say address your fears, but actually how do you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so everybody should read this book.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is just about like disarming fear and replacing it with joy because that's what God wants for us. Like that's how birth was designed. It was designed for us to be bathed in love, our baby to be bathed in love. I mean, that's God literally could have um chosen any hormone to make birth work. It could have been serotonin, it could have been dopamine, it could have been any hormone you name it. It could have been any hormone. And he chose oxytocin to make our bodies work. And that is how we communicate with our baby, and that is how we keep our baby calm and, how we stay calm and cool and collected. And so, yeah, the baby literally is supposed to come out just bathed in love, and we are flooded with love afterwards too, So it's just like love all. And as a doula, I mean, I'm telling you, it's like pheromones. When you're in the room, it's like everybody loves, everybody's just like hugging each other, like, oh my God, I just love everybody because it's supposed to be designed that way. It's coming out of the mother's skin and so that people don't want to kill the baby. And, it's designed like that,
Yeah.
like nature is so smart. And, yeah, that's the first thing that we have to do to get rid of fear is just teach people how God designed birth. Literally. It's not about like you need to free birth and be away from the hospital, and it's not you need to be in the hospital to be safe. It's those are two extreme ends of the spectrum, and I support both beautifully, but your body's not going to work if you're doing a free birth based off fear. It's not. If you're doing a free birth because you're fearful of someone being in your space, you're literally gonna be scared the whole time. It doesn't matter how empowered you are. You're gonna be scared because you're gonna be in your thinking brain. And then you go into the hospital and you're gonna be scared because that's what
Yeah.
they do for a living, So it's two opposite ends of the spectrum. So I try to keep nuance in all things, but again, I always give it back to God because that's I live by the Bible, and that's how we're meant to birth is how he designed it.
Yep.
So,
I hear you there. Yeah.
yeah.
Lord. Yeah. Well, I'm so excited because we're going to talk also about your birth stories today.
Yay.
And your first was a C-section. And
Mhm.
how long ago was that?
That was 6 years ago.
Years ago. And then you
Yeah.
had a redemptive home birth.
Yeah.
And that was a few years ago.
That was 3 years ago.
3 years
Yep.
ago. And now you're pregnant with baby number 3.
Yes, I'm 44, and this was a surprise. We thought we were 2 and done.
Mhm.
But God said, "Nope, you're gonna have one more." So yeah, I'm due in like 7 weeks. I'm super stoked. I'm gonna do it again here at home. I love my midwife. She's incredible. She's like very, very like she used to be a doula, so she gets it, and she gives me like full autonomy and in decisions that I want to make, and doesn't force tests or anything like that. Gives me all the right to deny whatever I want, and Yeah, she's incredible. She trained under a midwife here in Austin who literally was like the twins and breech midwife. Like that's all
Wow.
she does is deliver twins and breech. And so I have full confidence that like she's got amazing skills all around and that she really, really, really does have full trust in birth. So yeah, it's really about, picking your team and just feeling nice and calm and relaxed and joyful going into your
Yes.
birth, which I
Oh,
am.
precisely. Yeah. And I think I can't wait for you to just break it down in your special way that you do, through your births. But maybe
Oh,
do you want to take us back to your to
sure.
the first time and who you were?
Yeah, we can start with I call it the traumatic birth, but the way that
Yeah.
I like to tell it is very empowering because I do find that when we are able to process and take radical responsibility for kind of what led to the trauma, it was things that I could have controlled and not things that were out of my control. Obviously, there's things that happen in birth that can be out of our control, but specifically with my first birth, I was 37. I was going to be 38 when I gave birth. So already I was labeled high risk geriatric pregnancy. But surprisingly, I had already been a doula. I had been a massage therapist for about 20 years, and my sister was a doula for like 14 years. And I've always been kind of a medical freedom, body autonomy, supernaturopath, holistic person, literally for like the past 25 years. That's been my life. So natural birth wasn't something that was like, oh, I need to learn about it. I kind of just knew. But obviously I didn't know what I know now.
Yeah.
Um, and so I had started in my doula profession as a massage therapist, and I just had clients that were having like their third or their fourth home birth, and they would just be like, "Can I just pay you to come massage me?" And I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, okay." And that's kind of how I became a doula, is just like sitting in these epic home births. So I had only witnessed these like beautiful sovereign home births. Going into my first birth, I chose a birth center because, like so many, it was my first baby, and I did still have fear. I did still have fear there, no matter how many. I had only witnessed like 10 births as a doula, but still 10 beautiful births. I think we only had one transfer, but it was still a vaginal. So, everything had still gone pretty good. And so I just was like super confident in my body. I was like, I can do this. It's great. I took the Mama Natural birth course just to like kind of refresh things. Um, and then I took the birth center course, which was evidence-based education, which of course is like the 1 to 4, 4 to 7, 7 to 10, which again is indoctrinating us to get cervical checks to see where we're at
Yeah.
and all that jazz, right? So looking back, I'm like, okay, I was slowly being indoctrinated to be a good patient at the birth
Right.
center. And, we would go in, we would step on scales, weigh ourselves. It was just very hospital outside of a hospital looking
Absolutely.
back. I remember the first time that it kind of hit me that I didn't have trust in my body anymore. And that was when they forced me to drink the glucola. Like we didn't even have the option of the fresh test. And I remember I was so educated that I was like, well, I would like to do the fresh test. And they were like, well, we don't do that here. We do the glucola, especially if you're over 35, you have to do the glucola. If you were younger, we could give you the option to do other things, but given your age, we need to be very proactive and make sure you don't have gestational diabetes. Well, I'm somebody who like works out like a ton. I don't eat sugar. So I was like, okay, so I'm about to down 50 grams of sugar with a bunch of chemicals. And I did, and it didn't feel right in my body. And I got really, really sick. I was vomiting. I almost passed out the hour that I was waiting, failed the test. And so I was labeled gestationally diabetic, and this was COVID. So this was
Oh man.
around beginning of March when I took the GD test. And that's when everything was shut down for COVID. And so I was having to go to an MFM every 2 weeks. I could still birth at the birth center as long as I stayed okay,
Oh,
managed my diet. And the funny thing was, is every time I would go there and we would prick my finger and they would test my fasting and everything was perfect.
right.
And so I'm like, is there such thing as a false test? And they're like, no, no, there's no false positives. Well, now I know that that's a lie. There's definitely false positives
yeah.
with a chemical drink that you put in your body.
Uh-huh.
My pancreas just freaked out. But yeah, I was wearing a mask. My husband couldn't come to appointments with me. I was just being made like,
Yeah.
you're high risk, you're scary, your baby's going to be big, you can't, it just was the whole cascade that starts. Like I always tell people, the cascade doesn't start when you
Oh no.
go into labor. It starts long before that. So I remember crying, just being like, Googling what gestational diabetes is and what the risks and the side effects are. So that's where fear was kind of put in. And I remember, I didn't do any spinning babies. I didn't do any chiropractic. I didn't take magnesium or drink electrolytes. I was hydrating, but I wasn't really drinking a lot of water at night because I didn't want to get up to pee. I look back at all of these things that I wasn't doing in my first pregnancy to make my body be as efficient and proactive and healthy in labor as I do now, right? And so that's kind of where I come from, is like I teach people like, this is how you have your redemption birth. Let's fix that what you didn't do right in your first birth. And a lot of it starts with diet, nutrition,
Yes.
hydration, minerals, like all of those things. But chiropractic care, man, taking care of your nervous system, aligning your body, getting the baby in a great position. And then I also got spinning baby certified. So I learned like all about the fascia and how important our fascia is in our body. And my baby Adeline, the first one, she was asynclitic. And so when I went into labor, I ended up having this like 6-day prodromal labor. It was awful. I mean, they kept telling me, you're not in labor. And I'm like having 5-minute apart. And I'm from somebody who's had a home birth and had a baby out of her vagina. I can tell you, I was like having active labor for like 6 days. It was like every 5 minutes. I wasn't getting a break. It was awful. And I know now it's all the things that I didn't do leading up to that birth and the fear. There was just, I was like, I don't want to go in. I'm afraid they're going to transfer me. What are they going to do? So I was like trying to stay home and do it myself. I went in, they checked me. I was like a 4. So they gave me a shot of Nubane and sent me back home to sleep, because it had been like 3 days at that point, and they were like, you need to sleep. So they gave me Nubane, which is a narcotic, in my butt, like a shot in my butt, sent me back home. I was so drowsy. I passed out. I woke up probably like 8 hours later to extreme contractions. It was insane. Again, baby was not in a good position, and I wish I would have just done an inversion. It could have changed everything, right? And everything was meant to happen the way it happened. I went back to the birth center. I was at a 6 finally. She was like, we're just going to break your water. And I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. They break my water, and things just kind of went crazy from there. And yeah, it was just intervention after intervention. They were just like, let's just transfer you so you can get the epidural so you can sleep. So of course, when I got to the hospital, they were just like, I'd been in labor for so long. My blood pressure was not fun. And I had an infection because they broke my water, and I had like 6 cervical checks after my water was broken, which is like, come on, man. Like, you broke my water. Keep your hand out of there. So they gave me Pitocin. Of course, the baby heart rate didn't do well. And then I had a fever. So because I had choreo, because I had an infection, because my water and all the stuff, they were like, let's go do a C-section. And at that point, it was like 6 days I was like, okay, fine,
Right.
Had the C-section. The recovery was not fun. I ended up being in the hospital for like 6 days because had an ileus, like my intestines stopped working. And so I have like a whole podcast episode on like what not to do after a C-section, because sometimes they'll just be like, yeah, you can order food, you can do this and that. And I'm like, okay. I was like starving, and I think I ate like a bagel and egg. Like I ate like a lot of food, and I hadn't passed gas or anything yet. So my intestines weren't awake, and I basically, my intestines it was bad. So if you do have a C-section, please don't eat until you pass gas or go to the bathroom. It's very, very important for that. Yeah. And so I just ended up with all these complications postpartum. And again, looking back, it was all preventable, all of it. So yes, I had an emergency C-section, but was this an emergency? Not really. She came out with an APGAR of 9 after the first minute, literally. And I think she was like in 10. I think they were like, wow. And this baby had been in labor with me for 6 days, covered in meconium, covered. And she was perfect. She was perfect. I was not. So, So yeah, after I had her, um, it was funny because I knew. I knew in my heart, I was like, that was not right. That like
Mm.
some women will come out of birth trauma and they'll say, I'm broken. I maybe I just can't do it. And mine was the opposite. I was mad. I was like, this all started months ago. And I knew it. It was like God was talking to me and was like, no, you're going to fight, and you're going to not only fight, I'm going to show you just how wrong they were and how right you were. And so I got back to doulas 4 months postpartum. My amazing husband had lost his job at the time, but we had some savings, and he was like, "I'll just watch her, like while you go do births." And I was like,
Oh,
"Awesome," because he knew that it brought me joy. Like
yeah.
he knew that would get me out of my depression a little bit too. Um, and so I just pumped and pumped and pumped and left in bottles. But by the way, that baby ended up breastfeeding for 5 years. She tandem fed with
Wow.
my second
Yes.
baby. Like she would not get off the boob. Like
Amazing.
we bonded.
Oh,
Um
yeah.
and but yeah, so I got right back to it. And the first thing that I did was I started posting in mom groups, and I said, "Look, I'm a doula and I want VBACs. Any VBAC, hospital VBAC, home VBAC, birth center VBAC. I want to work with you. Let's go." And so I ended up in 1 year, I ended up doing about 45 VBACs. I ended up doing
Wow.
about 4 to 5 births a month,
Holy
and it
moly.
was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of hospital. So a lot of them were planned inductions, but the crazy thing is out of all of those, I did not have one repeat C-section.
Amazing.
It was really cool. I was like, wow, that was like success after success after success after success, right? And they just kept referring me. Like I would get clients because they would
Yeah.
have an amazing VBAC, and then they would refer me to someone else. So then I
Uh-huh.
kind of became like this go-to VBAC doula.
Oh,
And I was just like, this is so cool. But then I started, because I was taking these VBACs, I would like break down their births. I'm like, let's talk about what happened for your C-section.
mhm.
When I started doing that, I started hearing a lot of the same stories, right? Not just my story, because my story is like age related / gestationally diabetic down the MFM route. But then I would also hear like the high blood pressure into preeclampsia. And I would say, okay, well, how was your diet? Well, how was this? How was that? Right. And like, I just started seeing patterns, and it became a pattern recognition thing. And so
Yeah.
once I started learning the patterns, I was like, oh, birth trauma is caused literally.
Mhm.
And there's so much like that we can do to empower and educate each other truly, right? Because we're being taught the wrong version of childbirth education. We're being taught by a system that's, it was evidence-based education is the hospital system paid by pharmaceutical companies, running these studies on women having hospital births, right? So of course it's going to be evidence-based, right? So I just started learning like an unlearning, right? A lot of it was
Right.
unlearning.
It is
And
unlearning.
it was really cool. And then I started getting my just straight up redemption births, like women that, they tried for the home birth and then they transferred and they had the vaginal birth. So it wasn't necessarily a C-section, but their
Mhm.
birth trauma stemmed from their autonomy being taken away or from, just X, Y, and Z, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I was like, wow, it's not just women who had C-sections. It's just like all things, right? So then I went and I got my somatic EMDR certification so I could be like a somatic EMDR coach and help these women really process the trauma so
Mhm.
that we could help their nervous system really feel safe in birth. And then I got pregnant with Georgia. And I was like, okay, we're doing this.
There you go.
And it's so funny because my husband would hear me just talking all the time. I mean, about birth, like all the time. And he knows he knows so much now that like he'll
Mhm.
come and he'll like he plays disc golf like with his friends. He'll be like, yeah, so and so had a baby and he was telling me the story and I wanted to just like tell him that, this and this and this, and that like he knows
You
so
know,
much
stuff.
now,
Uh-huh.
because that's the thing with birth trauma too, is that we forget about the partner. We forget about the husband who witnesses all of this, and they may not have the same instincts that we do, but they do know that something's not right in
Mhm.
this space. And they don't it's like they get emasculated,
Yeah.
and they don't like, they want to speak up for their wife, but like they also don't want to be the reason that something bad happens, so then they stay
Mhm.
quiet. So it's like I'm very big on the husband needs to be just as educated, if not
Yes.
more, than the
Mhm.
woman giving birth. I love Doula Dude. Do you follow him on
I just
Instagram?
yeah, he actually reached out to me. I gotta message
Oh
him.
my God.
Yeah.
Yes, girl. He's like, let's blow him up. Like, let's get him
Yeah.
so blown
I
up. He
love
is
when a
so
dad is
amazing.
all of like, on fire about physiological birth.
Yes, yes. And so I really equate that to the success of my home birth, as well as like just me
Yeah.
literally having no fear. Like it was like I had seen so many
Mhm.
VBACs, I had like whatever. Like I had
Yep.
no fear. I refused to drink the drink. I told them, "I'll prick my finger for you." Like, "You can even prick my finger when I come to the office. You can do sneaky blood draws on me. I don't care. I'm telling you, I'm not gestationally diabetic."
Yeah.
And, they were great. They were amazing midwives. The one that was on call was amazing for me. Yeah, my birth was like 10 hours start to finish. It started at
Beautiful.
like 3 in the morning. I kinda woke up and I was like, I feel crampy." And so I just grabbed my headphones and, my phone, and I just put on a birth playlist, and I went to the guest room, and I just grabbed my peanut ball and kinda put myself in like a was it flying cowgirl, where like you really push your hips forward just for that early stage to like, and then I was doing like inversions and like all the things that I wish I would have done with Adeline. And I could tell it was working. I could tell, I could feel her getting into my pelvis, and it felt so good
Yeah.
because I didn't get to feel that the first time. I got all the way to an 8. Like at the hospital, I was at an 8. And I feel like when they were wheeling me to the emergency room for the C-section, I feel like
Ready
I
to
was like
push.
probably about to push too,
Yeah, I
because
bet.
I was like vomiting and like shaking and like all the
Mhm.
things you would think right before you have the baby. So I think it was just the fever. But
Yeah.
anyways, like I loved feeling everything. And it was just,
Mhm.
I was like, I was looking forward to the feeling of pushing her out of my vagina. Like that was just so exciting for me. And so I and I find with a lot of EBACs too that this happens. I was very primal, very vocal. So I labored through the day. So my husband woke up at like 7:30 that morning. And again, I had my 3-year-old, right? My
Right.
first, who was 3, who was still nursing on me.
Mhm.
And I knew everybody wants the family centered birth. And I was like, I knew that I needed to get her out of the house. Like with many births as a doula, a lot of women want the older sibling there, and I'm like, "Look, that's beautiful if you had an amazing home birth the first time and, all the things, but if you're a redemption birth, I highly recommend just, like, getting someone to take your kid until you're pushing and then bring them back, that's fine." But, like, I knew that she was gonna want babas. She was gonna wanna, like, nurse on me, and I just was like, "Ugh."
Yeah, no, I
So,
hear
my
ya.
husband took her to his mom's house, to grandma's house, and then he came back, and I had a doula, so I called my doula at the time, and I was like, "Hey, do you wanna come over? I think it's happening." And she got there, and I was like, I was in it. It was awesome. And so we called the midwives, and I was so primal and so vocal, and I just remember thinking like, "Man, there's probably people walking their dogs right now." But I mean, I made sure to tell like my whole street I'm friends
Yep.
with. It's awesome. So they all think I'm crazy because they're like, "Oh, you're the hippie that home births." But I made sure to tell them like, if you hear noises, please don't call the cops.
Right,
Like
like,
it's
I'm
just
just
me.
giving birth,
And
like,
I'm
no
pretty
big deal.
loud. I'm a vocalist, so I'm pretty loud. But it felt so good to just let it go, to
Yeah.
go so primal. And I remember I would make these like screams and these noises, and then I would look at everybody and be like, "I promise I feel really good." like
Yeah.
I promise I'm not
Mhm.
making these noises because I'm in pain. It just feels so good to let it out.
Mhm.
And my husband, it was funny because my doula would massage me, and I wouldn't know who was touching me at the time. There was also an assistant midwife there who was like this indigenous, amazing, like traditional midwife training to get her license. And she would massage me. But when my husband would touch me, they all said they were like, you would just like melt, like you would relax because he knows how to massage me. So he was kind of my doula through
Mhm.
it. It's really awesome. But yeah, I mean, I pushed her out and it felt so good. Like I didn't even feel the ring of fire because I was so excited. Like I mean, my body probably felt the ring of fire, like in all of that. But I was just like, oh my God, it's happening. Like I'm actually pushing her out of my vagina. This is so cool. It was awesome. I didn't tear. Like and she was 8 pounds, 2 ounces. So, I mean, not a small baby. Um, but yeah, it was incredible. It was amazing. I remember my husband, after the midwives all cleaned up and everybody left, my husband literally was holding her because like I just gone pee and laid back down and he's holding her and he looks at me and he's like, because I mean, we spent 6 days in the hospital with our first,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
know how that is. They just wake you up and
Oh,
bleh.
awful. Mhm.
And he looked at me and he was like, so we can just like go to sleep. And it was like 7:45 at night. And I was like, yeah, but I'm hungry. He was like, I can go get some tacos. I was like, that sounds great. Like,
Yes.
we just laid in the bed and watched Netflix and I nursed and we ate tacos. And I was like, this right here is why
Mhm.
home birth. Like, so yeah, it was so epic. And yeah, again, I'm pregnant with my third. And I know now after doing it for 7 years, and being in well over 100 births at this point, that it's just about the surrender to everything but staying in your autonomy. Like you make decisions and you do what feels safe in your body, and what the physical outcome is, it if you're kind of the driver as much as possible in a decision making process, then people aren't coercing you or manipulating you or gaslighting you into doing things you don't want to do. It does work.
It
There are the
works. Yeah.
1% times where you have the crazy things that happen, but I can tell you I've I've barely seen that, like the hemorrhages that I've seen were hospital. They weren't home,
Mhm. Mhm.
because I help women blood supply build and I help,
Mhm.
with a lot of that stuff that builds platelets and iron and
Ooh, I have a
just
question.
not messing with labor.
Yeah. Yeah, the hospital hemorrhages that you've seen, have they been kind of, like, I mean, around the time when the placenta is coming, there's, like, kind of a fear and a rush to get the placenta out.
Oh
Maybe
yeah.
the lights have been flipped on, and then
They
people are
pull
suddenly
it.
talking, and they're yeah, and it's like yeah, so, I mean,
And then and it's like,
obviously, that's gonna happen,
maybe
right?
you shouldn't have pulled that placenta off. Yeah.
And everybody get all fearful and tense about getting the placenta out s quickly,
And the
Wow.
baby's usually not on mom at that point. Baby's at the
See?
warmer.
Right, and so
So
if
we
mom is
have a
all fearful
separation.
in that
Yeah.
moment, it's like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I don't see it at home.
no.
I mean, does it happen at home? Sure, but that's usually a nutritional thing. See
Mhm.
vegans, vegetarians,
Sure, yeah.
or a midwife that pulls too much,
Mhm.
or there's fear there. There's still some fear because I can tell you, even after having a baby, it's like some women are like, oh God, now I got to do the placenta. I'm like, just smell your
Just
baby, kiss your
yeah,
baby, nurse your baby. Like,
the
there's
placenta will
too
come.
much that happens once the baby comes out. Sometimes people are talking to you, and
Mhm.
because that is where a midwife's like anxiety goes up. It's like, okay, now we got the baby out. Now I got to worry about hemorrhage, and it's like, if
But a good
everybody just
midwife
was
won't
like,
have that anxiety moment.
yeah. I mean, the things that I see cause hemorrhage in natural birth are induction. So if
Yeah.
you're doing acupuncture to induce, if you're getting membrane sweeps to induce naturally, and if you take castor oil
Yeah.
or you're pumping your boobs during labor or you're taking cottonwood bark or you're doing these tinctures to rush it along,
Mm,
that is where I see the third stage just go to crap
mm,
because we've rushed the body to do things so much and so fast
yeah.
that because we need to get this done because you're going to get tired and you're going to end up transferring if you get it's like you can go to sleep.
No.
I've put women to sleep in the middle of transition where they're literally snoring and then they wake up and push their baby out. Like, yes, you'll be tired, but you won't be too tired that you can't push the baby out. Like, if you just are calm and you don't have fear and you understand that contractions can go 20 minutes apart, 3 minutes apart, 20, and there's nothing wrong. That's
Wrong
just
with
the
that,
baby
right.
taking rest, as long as the baby sounds great, just take a nap, take that rest, because when they're back to back to back, girl, you're going to need that energy.
Yeah,
So a lot of what I say in my podcast is just sleep your baby out, like
that's
just
amazing if you
sleep
can
when
do
you can
that.
sleep. And the one way women can really do that is by just literally not having any fear. Because if you're timing your contractions and then your contractions space out, that's the one reason why people start intervening. They're like, oh, we got to bring those contractions back together. And it's like, or
Or do
we
we
let the baby lead the
Yeah,
way
I was
because the
gonna
baby's
say
tired.
that a lot of people don't know that that can be a very physiologically very normal pause to happen right before transition, right before you're
Oh,
supposed
I mean, it's all through labor, girl. It's
Yeah.
literally all through
Well, I
labor.
didn't experience that, but yeah,
It's
I
all through
right,
labor
you need to take
because,
the rest when your body's giving it to you. Yeah, like,
yeah,
don't worry about this
but the
perfect
baby.
pattern. Oh,
So,
and
like,
baby, yes,
so the
baby needs
baby
rest.
is literally, so that's the thing that I also teach in my class is the baby is literally signaling to your brain exactly how much oxytocin that it needs. So if
Mhm.
it just needs like a tiny little like 30-second contraction to, and those are usually like, and it tells the uterus exactly where to contract too. It's a very, very smart thing that happens. The baby's like, I need oxytocin. I need this much oxytocin, and I need you to kind of aim it towards the right side of the uterus so that it can kind of push me this way, right? And people have no idea that this is happening. It's a signal between the baby and you. And the baby's telling your brain, I need, 40 cc's or whatever it is of oxytocin. I need a small one because I'm not trying
Yeah,
to get squeezed right now. I just need one to help me kind of wiggle into a different position. And that's where you get like those little 30-second contractions. So when babies are in bad positions, they'll
yeah,
just have like those short 30-second ones. It's because they don't want to use up that oxytocin supply yet. They're trying to just get in a better positions, like OP babies. It'd be like 30-second part
yeah,
contractions,
mhm,
and it'll be happening. And the midwives are like, oh, something's wrong with the baby's position. It's like, yes, but the baby's using that to get into a better position. So if we can help that with different position changes, inversions, spinning babies, whatever, then you'll start getting those big contractions. But
yeah.
who is signaling to the brain of how much oxytocin to release to give the strength of the contraction? The baby. And
Baby,
it reserves those
wow.
oxytocin reserves until the pushing phase. That's when we get the adrenaline. So it tells the body, okay, I'm ready for adrenaline
Yeah,
and I'm ready for the big oxytocin. I'm
mhm,
ready for those big ones. And the baby is the one that's signaling that. Now, when the baby wants to sleep, what does it do? It stops sending that signal to the brain because it says,
yeah,
hey, I need a
rest.
40-minute nap. And
Uh-huh,
this could be in early labor, active labor, or transition. A lot of the times it happens in transition because it's storing the reserves of oxytocin to store back up so we can start pushing. So that's why a lot of the times it happens in the rest phase. But I'll tell you on my podcast, I see it. I've seen it so many times in different stages of labor
yes,
because the baby just wants to sleep, right? So if you've been in prodromal labor for 2 or 3 days, and then things start picking up, right? And then
mhm.
all of a sudden they slow down for 2 hours. You get a 2 hour break. You're like, not again. It's like, don't worry about
Don't
it.
worry.
The baby is not signaling to your brain to release oxytocin right now. So now's the time to sleep, right?
Sleep, mhm,
And the baby will start signaling again if you get sleep. Because if you get
right,
sleep and the baby gets sleep, then your body can start doing it all over again, right?
right,
So it's just really cool. And so what happens when we start, even in natural birth and home birth, when we start giving tinctures or we start pumping to make the body release oxytocin that the
mhm,
baby is not signaling, but
right,
we're telling the uterus to contract without the baby signaling that oxytocin, then
yeah,
we start stressing the baby out and we start
yeah,
stressing the body out. And that's the same thing with Pitocin. So now the baby's trying to sleep or it's not
mhm,
ready for that big surge, right?
right,
It doesn't want that big surge, but the hospital's like, but we need to get these contractions going again because you've stalled or you've failed to progress. And so it literally just like they're doing this and the baby's the one that's not signaling. So the baby's like, wait, what's going on? I didn't tell your body to do
right,
this. So then they start freaking out and down the spiral it goes. But it can happen in home birth too.
yeah,
It can happen with those tinctures, can happen with castor oil, it can happen with anything. So we just have to
or
remember there is a communication, a really smart communication with the baby. They tell the uterus where to contract, how hard to contract, and it's for them.
mhm,
They're saying, I need it this strong, or I need it. Like if the baby has a shorter cord, you'll find that they have the really strong 90-second contractions and they're like 10 minutes apart all the way through labor. Like
Wild.
this is a pattern recognition that I've seen, right? Why? Because if you were to have like, let's say the 60-second contractions every 3 minutes, their oxygen would be
Oh,
deprived,
yeah, short
right? So they're
maybe.
getting one long contraction,
Sure.
right? They don't have the oxygen as much as they need. And then they get a rest so that they can build up on the oxygen so that they can do another long one, right? So like the shorter cords, that'll happen, right? And the baby is so smart, so
Mhm.
smart. Cause it's like, I don't want these really close together contractions. And it's the same if you have nuchal cords too. I mean, the babies are so, I mean, they're just so smart. So we have to start trusting the baby
Honoring
inside
the
of us. Like
wisdom
the
of our
baby.
bodies and our babies. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I love this. And I think that how healing for women who, a lot of women who are listening to this podcast are aiming for a redemptive birth.
Yeah.
And they come into their births or, they're approaching their healing with this story that they've told themselves that like my labor stalled, my
Yeah.
body just didn't know what it was doing. I X, Y, and Z and fill in the gap. But if we just really, really the wisdom of the body and of our
Yeah.
babies and just pause
Yeah.
there and realize that nothing was ever wrong with your baby or your body. And, yeah,
Nothing.
approach.
Girl,
Right.
I can't tell you some of
Mhm.
the one-on-ones that I do because I do one-on-one work with women to help them break down
Yes.
their birth trauma stories.
Gosh, I feel like I
Um,
didn't introduce you very well because you are
oh,
all over the place. You've got your podcast, you've got Instagram, you've got your book. You help women debrief their birth traumas you're dueling. Like, you're everywhere.
no, I genuinely, that's why I love your podcast. This is so great. Like I genuinely, my main mission is to help women who think that they were broken
Right.
to understand that they were never broken. And I
No.
can tell you right now in the hospital, like a new diagnosis, a new thing that they're telling women is that they have oxytocin receptor deficiency.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Yeah, like it's a thing. Like
Oh,
this is why you never got past a 3 on Pitocin for 4 days.
it
It's
just like
because
actually makes my skin
you're
fall.
just one of those women that just has the oxytocin receptor deficiency. It just
And then
doesn't.
women like cling to this label and this diagnosis and like form their identity around it. And then
Yes.
and then they're mad that women can birth and they can't. And it's like,
Yes.
but why?
Yes.
Yeah. Who is it? Yolanda Norris Clark always says that words really are like spells and
It is.
diagnoses are like spells. And,
Yes.
yeah,
It
it's
really is.
wild.
I'm telling you, same with preeclampsia. Like I was told after my first birth because I had severe postpartum preeclampsia and I had like 200 over 100 blood pressure when I went into the hospital because my body was just done. And they were like, if you ever have a baby again, you definitely need to not try a natural birth because you are prone to preeclampsia. Blah, blah, blah. I had like 106 over 65 my whole second pregnancy
Mhm.
because I learned what causes preeclampsia. And I can tell you that it is not just a bad placenta and your age
No.
and genetics. And it's not. It's the same thing that they say with every other disease in the world. And it is a spell.
Yeah.
When they tell you you need to take baby aspirin because you're older, I'm
Yeah.
like, that
Mm.
is such BS. You lower your carbohydrate intake, you lower your sugar intake, so you're not spiking your blood sugar from the very beginning. Not you don't wait till you're 26, 28 weeks to take a glucose test to see if you're gestationally diabetic. You treat your body as if you are a diabetic from the second you get pregnant. And that means you're eating nutrient dense food and you are eating 100 to 120 grams of protein, if not more, if you can, a day. And you are lowering your carbs, you're lowering your sugars because why? If you start eating processed foods and high blood sugar
Yep.
foods, your blood sugar is going to be spiking over and over and over again. And when your blood sugar spikes like that, look at type 1 diabetics. What's the one thing they have? Heart disease.
Mm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So blood sugar spiking, if you listen to Casey and Callie Means, this is what they talk about is like diabetes and sugar is literally the devil. It's it's
Mm.
literally like I mean,
Mm.
God designed us to eat fruits and berries and things
Right.
to get our sugars and then
Yeah.
sugar became everything, right? So our body just doesn't process it as much and people are just eating processed food, fried foods, especially that first trimester and it's it's just so ugh,
Mm.
and and then moving our body, like, yes, rest and all of that, but really, you really need to move your body in pregnancy. And then addressing the nervous system, because everything stems off of the nervous system. And then magnesium, if you have high blood pressure and you go into the hospital, just regular, not pregnant, they're going to put you on a mag drip.
Yeah.
You get put on a magnesium drip. Why? Because magnesium is a very, very important mineral for our blood pressure and for our heart and for our body. That's why, element and all these electrolytes are amazing in our water. We need it. We need salt. And what's the
Salt,
one thing that
salt,
they tell
salt,
you
salt,
in
salt.
pregnancy at an OB? Stop eating salt.
And it's just
No, no,
ridiculous.
no. We need salt. Just don't eat like salty French fries. Like,
Yeah.
get your Celtic sea salt. Like,
Yeah.
get salt. We need salt in pregnancy. You need it. It
Right.
helps so much with that
You're
blood
literally
supply.
doubling your blood volume. You need salt, and you need a lot of fluids, and you need a lot of
Correct.
protein. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
And so
at the
when you
same
deprive
time,
yourself of
yeah,
salt, your blood pressure is going to, it's
exactly.
just,
Exactly.
yeah.
But and at the by the same token, I think a lot of women might hear this and feel overwhelmed or like, "Oh, there's all of these things I need to do." And yes, we do need to take responsibility for our bodies and our health. Yes. And our bodies are resilient. And if you eat sugar every now and again, gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You know? And like
Yeah.
it's so
Have a
okay.
treat,
Have a
but don't
treat.
be eating Dairy Queen every day.
Right. Yes. It's balance. It's a tale as
Mhm.
old as time. And we're okay. And our
Yeah.
bodies are wise and our babies are wise. And
Yeah.
I know I could go
Yeah,
on
and I
and on
started
about this
noticing too
forever.
as a doula, I would ask my moms, I'd be like, "How was your hydration?" "Oh, I'm good, I'm good." And I'm like, "How much are you drinking at
Really?
night?"
Yeah.
When you get up to pee, are you taking sips of water? I just don't want to be peeing so much. And I'm like, "Okay." And their blood pressure goes up, and I'm like, "You need to be drinking more at night too, because 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., that baby still needs amniotic
Fluids.
fluid and your body still needs hydration." So I'm not saying chug, a 40-ounce Stanley. I'm just saying, like, at nighttime, we
Be
need to
sipping.
be
Yeah.
very conscious of our hydration as well. And it sucks that you get up and pee every hour or two, but you're preparing for a newborn. You're going to be up every
Oh,
hour or two anyways. So,
yeah. And I think that's by God's design too. The
Mm.
last trimester of pregnancy is so uncomfortable because guess what? Postpartum and newbornhood can be pretty uncomfortable too. So,
If everything was
you know,
so easy,
I know.
it would not birth the mother.
Yep.
To birth from maiden to mother, you have to go through stuff. And everybody always talks about, well, God gave Eve pain, as a punishment. And it's toil, like it's the
Mhm.
same word for Adam and Eve. Like, he has to work hard in the field,
Mhm.
but they translate it to pain, suffering
Yeah.
with Eve. And it's toil. It's the same
Same
word for
version.
Adam and Eve. And it is work. It
Mhm.
is God did this on purpose,
Mhm.
because we have to work with our baby. We have to feel the intensity of birth so that we can tap into our intuition and know how to move our body and know how to go into it. And when you come out the other side of it, and also, like, the brain releases endorphins between contractions. So you
Right.
get natural painkillers if you do it
Yeah.
unmedicated,
Yeah.
like, so
Yeah.
does the baby.
Right.
But, like, you have to feel it to go through it. And when you go through it, it's like a phoenix. Like, you are
And
birthed. You are birthed. You birth a baby, but then now you are ready to be a mother, because there's so much that we have to go through as mothers, that is emotional pain, physical pain, just whatever. And you cannot do that if you just numb out in your birth. I see women that just are like, give me all the drugs, numb me out. And guess what? It really does reflect. And I'm not saying if you get an epidural, you're a bad mom. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that numbing out and choosing to numb out will lead to the same thing, numbing out, disconnection in motherhood.
right.
I see a lot of postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression with the women who did numb out and didn't go through the intensity.
Mhm.
And I very rarely see the postpartum anxiety and depression with the women who had these incredible
Yes.
births.
Isn't it
It's like,
true? I know.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
It's pretty incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally love what you're saying about, because I think sometimes women want to have natural births because they are hoping that it's going it's like, do you want a natural birth even if it's not easy? Because it's not probably going to be easy, And
You
yeah,
have to know
that
your why.
you have to know your why. And also, like, I think in our culture, we're forgetting how to do hard things, how to move through a little discomfort. I mean, like, birth isn't just a little discomfort. It's like, the most discomfort.
Yeah.
And I'm also open to the idea that it doesn't have to be super, super uncomfortable.
Nope.
It's like, but it's hard. It's like you have to face, it's like, climbing a mountain. It's like, you know, telling the truth when you really don't want to. It's like doing a really hard thing. It's like one
Yes.
of those moments in
Yes.
our lives where it's an invitation. It's an invitation that we get to move through that and then come out of it a different version of ourselves. You're absolutely right. Like, the mother is birthed in a birth. And
Yeah.
and yeah, and it's like, it's not right. It's not wrong to get an epidural. It's just like you're opting out of an invitation to grow, really, is how I see it.
Well, when we don't think about
Yeah.
the baby's experience first,
Mhm.
right? So when you do get an epidural, the first thing that happens is it cuts off that communication to the brain and the baby. So
Right.
now the baby's literally just navigating everything on its own. And so what
Mhm.
happens is the oxytocin usually stops. So you have to get pitocin, right?
Right.
But this baby is like, "Where's mommy? What happened? Where'd mommy go? I don't
Mhm.
feel the oxytocin anymore." Then
Yeah.
they hang a bag that says oxytocin, but it's not oxytocin, it's pitocin, and then the nurse will try to tell you that it's the same thing as oxytocin. It's
It's
like, "No,
not.
it's not. It doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier." So that
Right.
baby does not get that through its placenta to
Mhm.
feel the love hormone. I call it the devil's juice because it's trying to be what God created, but it will never be what God created,
Mhm.
ever.
No.
And what like I said, there's situations, there's circumstances, yes, where you need that. But if you can avoid it at all cost, it really helps your baby stay bathed in that natural God-given love hormone.
Mhm.
And then it helps them navigate your birth. And if we're thinking about the baby's experience first, which a lot of people
Forget.
don't do,
Right.
right? I mean, you talk about the abortion industry and all these
Oh,
people that are pro-choice, it's like we don't think of the baby, as like an
oh,
actual smart communicating human
human.
being because they can't walk and talk yet, but they have so much wisdom. We don't even, I'm telling you, like that whole feedback loop, it's like it is God designed. They are so smart. And when we lose our trust in that and we just can't handle the intensity anymore and we numb out, that's selfish, in my opinion. That's like, I can't take it anymore. Sorry, buddy. You're on your own. I'm going to pray that you don't freak out and whatever, and we're going to make it happen. But in my opinion, like it's, unless it's medically necessary, have a doula, have somebody who knows how to counter pressure you, use a hot and cold pack, get in the tub, like there's so many things that can really like help with the intensity of labor.
Yeah.
But if you have fear and you don't understand undisturbed physiologic birth, like the true like process of undisturbed
Mhm.
physiologic birth, which I find that actually makes it like, I don't want the epidural because I want
Right.
to help
I
my baby
know.
navigate.
Yeah.
I want to go in this process. And then women get excited for the sensations, right?
Right.
That's where like, Karen from Pain Free Birth, like that's her whole course is like if you don't have fear, you're not going to have tension. If you don't have tension,
You're not gonna have
there
pain.
won't be that much pain. Like I said, it can be intense. Yes. Let's like shift that.
Verbiage here.
Yeah. Like it's intense, right? But if you trust what's happening with your body and you're not in your thinking brain and you allow those endorphins to kick in between and you sleep, because
Mhm.
most home birth transfers, 95% of home birth transfers are for exhaustion.
Exhaustion.
It has nothing to do with the pain. It's not the women being like, "Okay, I give up. I give up. I want the epidural." Like, I've never heard that as a doula, ever.
Mm-mm.
It
No.
has always been because she's exhausted. And
Yeah.
when you get exhausted, yeah, your ability to cope with sensations becomes less. And so it's like, let's just get you the epidural to sleep, right? So it's like, if you can sleep as much as you can through early labor,
Mhm.
when you hit that point, you won't need to go get the epidural. You will make it through. There's thousands and thousands of women that do it. And
Right.
It's so funny. A lot of my VBACs are just like, well, I had to get the epidural right away with my first because I was so scared that I wasn't going to be able to handle the pain. I have a very low pain tolerance. Like,
That's what I
I'm
hear
like,
too.
it's
Yeah.
so funny because those women are the ones that like they barely make any noise in natural. They're like,
Yeah, you would know. You've seen them
and
all.
then like they start pushing, and I'm like, dude, you're like a freaking 10 right now. Like, what do you mean you don't have a pain tolerance? Like,
Wow.
it's just so I can't tell you how many women that like doubt their ability to cope with the sensations of labor, and then they learn how to let go of that fear, and then they like do so
Mhm.
beautifully in
Yeah.
labor because they trust the process.
Yes.
So, yeah. I love that you have your podcast and that's all it is just women telling their redemptive birth stories because I think people need to hear that over and over and
I
over
think so
again that
too.
like you're
Yeah.
not broken, you can have a redemption
Mhm.
and lots of women do.
And lots of women do, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, but I wanna ask you too, like, we talked so much about, releasing fear and, doing as much as we can to go into birth without fear, but that's
Yeah.
kind of a tricky thing to do for some
Yeah.
women, and they don't really know where to start. What would you suggest?
Learn how your body really works in labor, not the evidence-based childbirth education courses and not somebody that is dogmatic telling you to birth one way or the other,
Mhm.
but literally learning what I talked about very briefly about just the oxytocin cycle. And then you get flooded with endorphins and allowing yourself to do that. And then teaching your partner
Mhm.
or hiring a doula who knows how to work with your body and counter pressure and then just like literally learning how to aid yourself in birth, meaning like position changes and how to prep for it. And yeah, it's the more you learn about undisturbed physiological birth. And when I say that, I don't mean free birth. I'm not saying like go take a free birth course, right? Like I love free birth. I do. I sit in free births all the time as a doula. Okay? I love it cuz I those are the ones where my nervous system's like, "Ah, she's got this," you know? I don't have to worry about somebody trying to break her water, right? But learn about undisturbed physiological birth, meaning not messing with the physiology at all and how beneficial that is for you and for your baby. Because there's so many women that prepare for a home birth and then they get past their due date and then they think they need to go get the acupuncture and they need to curb walk and they need to go get a membrane sweep and then they need to do the castor oil and all these things. And it's like, let's address what's actually happening in your nervous system, and just understanding benefits and risks of all things, like true benefits and risks of all things. Because, yeah, I have a whole episode called cervical checks because what is that? I, as a doula, have seen women go from a 1 to a 10 in 45 minutes,
Yep. Oh,
and it
yeah.
was like, what was that? Like the midwife checked her and she was a 1, but I was looking at her like, "Oh, 1? What?" Like she
The
literally
cervix
is
means literally nothing. Ah!
I'm looking at her body language, her eyes. I'm like, dude, she looks like she's about to push her baby out. And this woman just like starts walking up and down the stairs. She's like, no, I will not take that as an answer. And literally, like, she goes up, she comes down. It takes her a while each time, right?
Yeah,
Because she's
right.
having these insane surges. She goes up, and when she comes halfway down the second time, she literally just pushes her baby out. And me and the midwife are like, like, you were just a 1 45 minutes ago. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I can't tell you how many times I've seen that and women transfer to the hospital because they are like in it and they're told that they're a 1 and then they get to the hospital and it's like, I feel like I'm pushing. Oh, don't push, don't push. We got to get the dog. We haven't checked you. It's like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
Right? I talk about they're a 10
Mhm.
and
Oh,
they're at
yeah.
home
Yep.
and it's like, let's start pushing and they're home birth. And then this is a lot of the birth trauma that I break down because they're told they're a 10 and they're complete and they can start pushing. Right. And so then they start pushing. And then 5 hours later, they're still pushing and they're still pushing and they're still pushing. And they go to the hospital and they get an epidural to rest and get rid of their cervical swelling that's happened from them pushing, pushing, and pushing when the baby wasn't ready yet. And they end up in a C-section or
Mhm.
they have a vaginal birth at the hospital. But, it's like,
Mhm.
it starts with that too,
It's
like
a
just
critical check.
somebody sticking their hand in you to tell you where you're it's this seeking outside
Yes.
validation,
Yep.
always. I have to
Mhm.
seek that outside validation. Somebody tell me what's going on, and if you start doing that from the second you pee on a stick,
Right?
it's you're gonna do that into your breastfeeding journey. You're gonna do that into motherhood. You're
Mm.
gonna, is this normal? Is my baby's not sleeping at night? It's like, okay, well, just put him in the bed with you, like co-sleep. Well, I was told not to do that. I'm like, okay, well, how does your body feel when you're told that? Like, what is your nervous? Know what your nervous system reacts to. You have to.
Well,
That's where somatics comes in. That's what I do. Is like know what feels good in your body, because if you know your body and you know what feels good in your body, then when somebody tells you something in your pregnancy or in your labor, you're going to know if it feels truthful or if it feels like something you want at the moment, or if it's like no, and then you go into good patient and you say yes
right.
because you fawn and you don't want to be that, you know, you don't want to be that mom that
That's
the
it.
midwives don't like,
I
right?
think that's the key piece is how can we become the kind of women who can understand what we, believe and know what we want inside of our
Yeah.
bodies and what feels right and good to us and
Yeah.
actually do it. It's like becoming a grown-up woman. It's
Yeah.
becoming a grown-up adult woman who can decide
Yeah.
what's right for her.
But it's also having your partner take that. So my class
True.
that I do,
Mhm.
that I want it to be this, like, I want them to feel so like almost filled with the Holy Spirit
Yes.
afterwards. Like, oh man, I am just ready to say no to everything, you know? But that's not it. That's
But
not even
also
it
not
too.
that.
Because
Like,
sometimes
also, you don't have to say no to everything.
you
I would never
exactly.
tell you to do
Sometimes
that.
you can say yes if it feels right in your body and that's what you really want. Say yes, that's
Yeah.
fine. But
Mhm.
don't say yes because somebody else wants you to, right? And if your husband truly understands the undisturbed physiologic birth just like you do, right? Like he gets it. He has no fear also, just like that doula dude, you know? And
Yeah.
he's able to be there as your partner, and you're in that moment of vulnerability and he's sensing all the BS in the room and all these things that are being told, you know, to his wife, and his wife is just in a weak moment. That's where the man comes in.
Yeah.
That's the husband's role, is to
Mhm.
protect his wife so that she can stay soft and she can stay in her feminine, and she doesn't have to be,
Right.
you know, the
No.
bitch
And you
and
shouldn't have to
stop
be,
no that, you know, the husband can
especially
be the
during birth.
protector.
Right. I'm thinking what I was saying more was like early, like through your pregnancy, you decide what you want and what you don't want. And
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
period. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Once you're in the birth space, there should, the more you're talking, the more you're thinking analytical brain, the less your body's able to do what it needs to do.
Correct.
And so you're
Yep.
absolutely right. Like the husband being
But
informed.
even
Yeah.
in the prenatals, if the
Right.
husband's going with you to prenatal appointments and I'm talking specifically hospital, because usually
Right.
midwives aren't going to start suggesting things super
Right.
early. But like if you're going to hospital, around 35, 36 weeks, they might start talking induction because of the size of the baby or whatever. And the husband needs to really read the wife's face and stick
Mhm.
up for her. And I'm telling you guys, you're going to get the best sex of your life for the rest of your marriage if you it creates such a
Yeah.
cool bond, man. Like when I see guys, like when I don't have, as a doula, like the last thing that I wanted to do, like I used to think I was the savior. Like the first 2 years of being a doula, I was like, I'm
Right.
saving these women. Like I'm
Mhm.
protecting them. I'm their advocate. And I had that, right? Like I had that air as a doula. Like
Yeah.
I'm the savior. Like they needed me. They wouldn't have been able to. I fought those hospital doctors. It's like, that's not the doula's job. And a lot of people think that if they're having a baby in the hospital and they hire a doula, that that's the doula's job. That's not the doula's job. The doula's job is to make you feel safe in
Mhm.
your body. So
Mhm.
when she shows up and she's massaging you and she's, you know, whatever, like whatever you want out of your doula, that you just feel like it's a sister or like your mom, or like
Right.
your body feels safe and soft, right? But the man should be the one that's like, no, she said she doesn't want Pitocin, like that's not the doula's job. So if people are birthing in a hospital and they're hiring doulas thinking that doula is going to protect them, that's not true. Like if a doula is doing hospital births, they have to stay chummy chummy with those L&D nurses and the OBs, and they can't necessarily fight for you
Right.
because I got to the point where I started getting kicked out.
Oh, really? Oh, my.
Yeah. So I was like, I cannot, my nervous
Right,
system cannot
right.
take this anymore. I mean, like the husband and I would both be like going at it to the
Yeah.
nurse, like, oh, you know, and again, outside in the hall, not in front of the mom, but
Right.
you know, I'm not the husband. So they would say, well, you need to leave, you know, and I'm like, looking at the husband, like, I'm so sorry, but you got to take over. They don't want me here anymore, you know, because I would try to school the nurse on when she was like, when the mom's like, I don't want Pitocin. I don't want the baby to get stressed out. And the nurse is like, what makes you think Pitocin stresses the baby
Oh,
out? Who
goodness
told
sake.
you that? You know, like, yeah.
Yep.
I have a whole episode called Stop the Lies after the last hospital birth that I ever did. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm never walking in Oz. And that was almost 4 years ago. I was like, mm-mm. So I've only done home and free birth for the last 4 years. But like, yeah, there's
Mhm.
just too much. And as a
Right.
doula, that's not shouldn't be on us, you
No,
know, like,
100%, no.
yeah,
And
you can't
nothing
expect
slows
that.
down the room like, a strong man who knows what he wants and what
Yes.
his wife wants and just
Mhm.
and he
But
doesn't
can
have to be
spot the
combative.
lies.
Right, and in order to be able to spot the lies, he has to do his work and he has to understand. Yeah.
Correct.
But
Yes.
to, like, really know, you know, when he doesn't have to be, like, combative or mean about it, but just like,
Yeah.
"No, no, we don't she doesn't want that. No, thank you." You
Yep.
know, like, it doesn't have to be
We want another nurse. If your
yeah.
nurse starts getting a little, uh-huh, you know?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like, that's the thing is redemptive birth, that was to me, that is a very common denominator,
Mhm.
is that your husband is just as proactive in learning about what caused the trauma the first time and how to prevent it the second time, because that can't just fall on you. You guys are a unit, you made this baby together, you're gonna birth this baby together,
Yeah.
and he is the one that's going to help you release oxytocin. And if he's somebody that wants to just sleep while you do the work, it's going to be hard,
Mhm.
you know? So, yeah, that to me, if it could be anything about like the fear, it's about really making your husband want to learn about this stuff, or your husband should want to learn. I mean, it's fun.
It
Learn
is.
about how God created our bodies. It's I try to make it fun in my class, and that is something that's like I love that when like the
Yeah.
husbands come up and they were like, I got to be honest, I didn't really want to come to this today, and I'm glad that I did. And I'm like, I'm glad you did too. You
What
know,
a
like you can
beautiful
tell their eyes
compliment.
are glassed over at the beginning, and then by the end, they're like, oh
Yes.
yeah, yeah, no,
All
that's
right.
what happened. Yeah, yeah. You know, it's like
Yes.
they feel validated in the trauma that they experienced, and it's very healing to them too, you know, because their experience is kind of overpowered by the mom's experience. Like the
Mhm.
mom physically went through all that trauma, but
Mhm.
again, he holds a lot of trauma as well in his body because he witnessed that. He witnessed the person that he loved. He was scared. He didn't know what was happening. He just, you know.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, yeah, if you're doing a redemptive birth, like it's very, very important, you know, to have the husband really break that stuff down by learning
Yeah.
undisturbed physiological birth. I made my book 200 pages. It's so tiny. My publisher,
Slim.
when I wrote it, I mean, I had all the things like don't wash the vernix and like
Yeah.
breastfeeding. And, like I had so much stuff in it. It was
And
almost
they
a
said,
thousand
"Slim it
pages. It was
down."
like 900 pages. And the one thing my publisher said to me, she was like, but you want the guys to read it, right? And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah. And she was like, okay, why don't you go through and cut out about 20 chapters? And I was like,
Wow.
what? So I had to like, what is the most important thing?
Mhm.
Right. And so basically this is, and there's a whole chapter on VBAC. There's
Yeah.
chapter 9 is VBAC. Um, and what I see is the most important things to learn as a VBAC. Um, you know, because yeah, you gotta learn. You gotta
Yeah.
learn. You gotta
That's
educate
part of
yourself,
it.
and that's where the fear will break down.
That's what I was
The
gonna
more
say,
you
yeah.
educate yourself, truly educate yourself on truth. And to me, like I said, I'm a Christian. I believe the Bible is the truth. And so how God created us, which is, you know, to not live in fear. When we live in fear, nothing good's going to happen. You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
we got to live in joy. We
Mhm.
have to.
We had such a good gospel reading this past Sunday. I'm just gonna have to look. Let me grab it really quick.
Please.
Okay. Matthew 10:26-33, Jesus said to the 12, "Fear no one." And I just like to sit there for a moment. Fear no one. Nothing is concealed that will not be revealed, nor secret that will not be known. What I say to you in the darkness, speak in the light. What you hear whispered, proclaim on the rooftops, and do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. And yeah, that's it. Like, do not fear. Like, God made this whole process, you know?
Yes. Yes.
And I just, of course, I thought about
Yes.
birth
Because
immediately.
when you're making decisions on fear, and it even starts with conception,
Yeah.
you know, you have to look at
Yeah.
you know, Hannah and Elizabeth. You have to look at these
Yeah.
people that waited
Oh,
Sarah. I
long to
mean,
have babies. Yeah.
yeah, so long. And they just, you know, yeah, you just have to keep the faith, keep joy,
Mhm.
and trust.
Yeah.
I think true trust and surrender. It's
Yeah.
like you can't explain it, but when you really truly learn how to trust and surrender your
Mhm.
body, your mind, your soul, everything to
Mhm.
God, there's this almost like
Yeah.
nothing that anybody says or does. It's almost like it just
Rolls right
bounces
off.
off of me because I know the way, the
You got
truth,
the
the
Holy
light.
Spirit. You
It's
do.
the Holy Spirit, and we need to have the Holy Spirit t to hold a baby in our womb, to nurture a baby through pregnancy, and to birth a baby. When you have that, when you
Mhm.
really have that, like, because when
Yeah.
your belly starts showing, people just wanna start telling
They
you
do. They start spewing
all
it.
the stories,
They
you
do.
know? And you really have to be armored up, like, you have
True.
to armor yourself up, and it's not a fake, like, "I trust my body. I don't have
No,
any
that's different.
fear."
Yeah.
It's
Slapping an affirmation on top of your fear isn't gonna help. You
it's
know?
yes. Okay, look, the
Yeah.
first time you have a baby after a C-section and you're doing your VBAC, you're gonna have little fears,
Of
but
course.
but
Of
understand, like, where that fear is coming from, because it's
Mhm.
not coming from God.
No.
It's not that fear, that's not coming from God,
Mhm.
right? So, like, the more you can give that to Him,
Mhm.
it's it's so powerful, like, I'm so excited to do this birth because I created, like, a whole worship playlist, like,
Aw.
it's gonna be so filled with Jesus, like,
Yes.
I just
Yes.
cannot wait.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
just can't wait just to see the difference because, yeah, I mean, I had my VBAC and it was great and it was epic, but there was still that question of, "Can
Mhm.
I push this baby out of a vagina?"
Of
Because they
course.
tried to tell me like, "Oh, you just make big babies and you're gonna need another C-section." It's like, you know, there was still the voice, that little
Mhm.
voice, and
I
as
know.
soon as I did it, it was like, "Nope, I know the truth."
Yeah.
And that's all that matters is I don't care what other people say. I know what's true. That's why I do love listening to, like, Yolanda
I do too.
talk because she's very firm in
Yeah.
her faith, and if you are firm in your faith, it
Mhm.
people tell me all the time, they're like, "You shouldn't be giving out medical advice. That's
Well,
misinformation.
also, literally none of
Preeclampsia."
this is medical advice. This isn't medical advice. Like, that's what bugs me the most is because people do the same thing to me. They're like, "Oh, this is dangerous information." And I'm like, "Excuse me, what?" Like, and whenever would I ever tell anybody what to do? Literally never. It's so funny because obviously when you and I are talking, like, we know we're not saying anything controversial,
Yeah.
but to the culture, to the
But
world,
in
it is.
other countries right now, we would
Mhm.
be in jail,
I know, which is
and
insane.
that's the sad thing. In the UK, they're not even doing home births anymore. The midwives won't even touch it, So women are either having a free birth
Rebirth
or
and hospital
go to
birth.
the hospital, and their their C-section rate's like 43% or something right now, which is
Yeah,
so sad.
it is.
So,
Mhm.
it's yeah, again, like, I love free birth, but people also shouldn't be free birthing out of fear
Mhm.
because they're afraid of having somebody in their birth, like, understand that you can have people in your birth and still use your voice. You can still say no, and if they start getting crazy, you can kick them out and then free birth, I always tell people, like, home birth is a great place to start. And if you're going to do a home birth, you need to prepare yourself to free birth, because I've had women
That's
have
so true.
babies in 57 minutes, from first contraction to the baby, and nobody made it. And they're FaceTiming while they have their baby, but they're scared because they didn't prepare for that, So it's like, if you're going to have a home birth, just learn about undisturbed physiological birth and what's normal, and let your husband understand it too,
Yeah.
so that he can help you if people can't get to you,
I would even argue, I think it was an unmedicated girlies one. I'm sure you follow them.
Uh-huh.
She said, prepare for your hospital birth, not like you're having a home birth. Prepare for your hospital birth like you're having a free birth. And
Yeah.
that's what I would say. Everybody should prepare for their whatever kind of birth they're having, like they're maybe going to have a free birth.
I always say, what's the fear of a car baby? If you have a car baby, like, yay, you
Yay!
did it. Like, get some Chuck's pads, keep them in the trunk, just
Yeah.
to put them out, and you're great. You had a baby. Then you can pull up to the hospital and they can check you out, and you've
You
probably
cracked
delivered
me
your
up.
placenta by then. Like, cool,
I know.
like,
Yeah, I know. Oh, I
so
know.
much fear of a car baby. I'm
All of those
like,
stories
oh,
too about car babies, or we didn't make it in time and my husband delivered the baby. I'm like,
it's like,
"No."
yay. I'm like,
But
that's
also,
amazing.
and it's so annoying though when they say, like, in the news stories that cover it, the husband delivered the baby. Like, no, he was
Yeah.
probably driving the car. Like, she
Yeah.
birthed her baby, and
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
women always birth their babies. Like,
Yes.
ugh, that
Yeah.
bugs me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, you keep doing the Lord's work, Sarah. Like,
you
I
too.
love this. I love that you're having all these redemption mamas on there, and I have so many that I could send your way.
Please, really please do. I would love if there are
Yeah.
other women that that would love to share their birth stories. I would be honored and thrilled to have them.
Yeah.
But since I know we've been going on for over an hour here, I always ask
Yeah.
one final question. And
Okay.
that is, if you had a woman sitting in front of you who really, really wants to have a birth like this, and I know we've really debriefed, like, gone through all of the things,
Yeah.
but what's one thing you would tell her if she's feeling a lot of fear, but she really wants to have a birth like this? What would you tell her?
You have to trust that God is always the one in control. No matter how much you try to control something, God will always do something for your greater good, right? If I didn't have the first birth that I didn't have, I wouldn't be who I was. If I had an amazing 5-hour hypnobirthing first birth, I wouldn't be the fierce advocate that I am today and have helped hundreds of women have their redemption births. So, yeah, learn undisturbed physiological birth. And then, secondly, surrender. Don't try to control the outcome. Truly give it to God and know that no matter what happens, it's for your greater good. It really is. Like, he's gonna look out for you. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you. I echo that 100%.
Yeah.
Thank you so, so much, Emmy. It's
Thanks,
been such a
girl.
joy talking
Yeah.
today.
Yay, me too.
Thank you for listening to Your Redemptive Birth. If you enjoyed today's show, please leave a review on your listening platform to help this podcast reach the women it needs to reach. If you have a redemptive birth story you would like to share, please email me at sarah@yourredemptivebirth.com. I would love to hear from you. Let's spread the redemptive birth word together.